One of the most common mistakes gardeners make today is assuming that irrigation alone will save a dry garden. Overwatering in drought conditions doesn't just waste water. It encourages shallow roots, increases disease risk, and ultimately weakens plants. I've seen it in raised beds, backyard gardens, and even small-scale hydroponic systems where water management was treated mechanically rather than strategically. The truth is, older gardeners didn't rely on constant watering. They used methods that preserved soil moisture, encouraged deep rooting, and kept crops productive even when rainfall was scarce. These strategies are practical, effective, and adaptable to modern gardens of any size. Deep-rooting crops and interplanting reduced water stress. Older gardeners favored crops that encouraged deep roots or planted shallow crops alongside deep-rooting ones. I've seen this work in raised beds. Deep-rooted carrots, beets, and parsnips draw moisture from lower soil layers, while leafy greens or lettuces occupy the upper layers. Interplanting in this way maximizes water usage, reduces competition, and stabilizes soil structure. Even in hydroponics, arranging channels so that slower-growing plants receive water slightly differently than faster-growing leafy greens can mimic natural stratification and optimize resource use. They use shade strategically to protect plants from heat. Older gardeners planted taller crops to shade lower-growing ones. Corn, sunflowers, or trellised beans act as natural sun shields. I employ the same technique in raised beds by planting bush beans under corn or trellised cucumbers near taller tomato plants. In small backyard plots, temporary shade cloths over sensitive crops achieve a similar effect. Hydroponic growers can use vertical racks or netting to reduce sun intensity, minimizing water loss and stress. They harvested and thinned crops to reduce water competition. Older gardeners knew that overcrowded plants under drought conditions struggled. I routinely thinned seedlings to recommended spacing: lettuce at 15 centimeters, carrots at 5 to 7 centimeters, and tomatoes at 50 to 60 centimeters in raised beds. Removing weaker plants ensures that water goes to healthy, productive individuals. In hydroponic setups, thinning involves removing small or underdeveloped seedlings from channels to prevent excessive competition for nutrient solution. Overcrowding, especially during a drought, drastically reduces yield and plant health. They conserved water with traditional irrigation methods. Before modern sprinklers, gardeners relied on furrows, basins, or hand watering to target roots directly. I use a simple drip-style approach in raised beds. Placing hoses at the base of plants allows water to soak the root zone without wetting foliage. In backyard plots, buckets or watering cans applied slowly at the soil level achieve similar efficiency. Even in small hydroponic systems, ensuring roots receive water and nutrients directly, while minimizing evaporation, aligns with these older principles. They selected drought-tolerant varieties first. Older gardeners didn't attempt to grow every crop in every condition. They prioritized varieties adapted to local dry periods. I plant beans, okra, amaranth, and certain tomatoes known for heat and drought tolerance. Leafy greens like kale or chard are planted in partial shade or in microclimates where soil retains moisture longer. Hydroponic growers can adjust species selection for periods of low water input by favoring plants that tolerate temporary drying of the medium. Choosing high-maintenance varieties in drought-prone conditions is a common mistake that leads to wasted effort and poor harvests. They relied on crop rotation to maintain soil moisture and fertility. Older gardeners rotated crops to avoid depleting soil nutrients and moisture in the same bed repeatedly. I follow a rotation: legumes followed by leafy greens, followed by deep-rooted root crops. This preserves soil structure and prevents repeated high-water demands on the same plot. Even in hydroponic media beds, rotating crops and nutrient solutions according to growth cycles mimics this effect, preventing localized depletion and keeping crops resilient during dry periods. Ignoring rotation stresses soil and plants, reducing both productivity and drought tolerance. The lesson is that productivity during drought isn't about more water, it's about smarter practices. Improving soil, mulching, timing planting, interplanting, providing shade, selective harvesting, efficient watering, choosing resilient varieties, and rotating crops all work together. Raised beds, backyard gardens, and hydroponic systems all benefit when these principles are applied consistently. Following these practices allows gardens to thrive through dry spells without over-reliance on irrigation or chemicals. If you want your garden to remain productive during dry periods, focus on water conservation, soil health, plant selection, and strategic planting. These techniques aren't modern trends. They're proven methods that have kept gardens alive for centuries. Applying them builds resilience, reduces stress, and ensures reliable yields even when rain is scarce. If you found these experience-driven insights useful, subscribe to Farm Logic. Share this video with other gardeners who want to keep their gardens thriving in drought conditions. Smart, time-tested practices, not more water, are the key to growing reliable, resilient food every season.